Welcome to my latest experiment. This is a big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley Podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. I'm about as normal as Norman Bates with deformative traits. A premature birth that was 4 minutes late. Mother, are you there? I love you. I never meant to hit you over the head with that shovel. Welcome to the Guy and Harley Podcast. I'm Guy Pigden.
And I'm Harley Neville, and that was Marshall Mathers.
From his Slim Shady days.
I remember that.
Remember having a chuckle at that as a kid, that joke about murdering his mum, having a good laugh at that.
Yeah, I do remember listening to that music and as a young and easily influenced person, and then becoming a homophobic misogynist who referred frequently to people as fags. Not actually gay people, but just people as in my friends as fags or homos. And also, I remember one time when you and I were filming, I think we were filming Superstition Bites, our very first film, and somebody drove past and tooted while we were filming. Yeah. A woman drove past and tooted while we were filming. Don't worry about that. And then, and you're like, what? Bitch! Or something, remember? Come on, bitch! Or something. I can't even remember what it was, but I remember thinking, yeah, that's definitely the Eminem influence right there. Because I think maybe you didn't even know if it was a woman. I can't remember.
Interesting story.
I just remember thinking, honestly, on that day, I remember thinking, oh, guy sounded like Eminem then.
Well, I also did dye my hair blonde.
you did.
In fact, I had the Slim Shady hair when we shot Superstition Bites.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So it was certainly true that he was a big influence. So welcome along. This is episode 60.
Yeah, I think it is.
60 episodes deep in the Guy and Harley Podcast. What do you know? What do you know? What have you got on the agenda?
Oh, good. We're starting with me. That's good. I like it when you warn me like that. What do we got here? 1 second. Well, yeah, I thought you were starting the show, man.
Yeah, I started the show with my lyrics.
And then you go into the first friggin' subject. Jesus. All right, look. Okay, how about this? Last week I had that audition, and I've now had it. Last week's show I hadn't had it yet. It was coming up. American accent for a big American show.
Oh, good for you. And how was it? I hope it was fucking good because it's useless now, isn't it? Fuck's sake, man, you're amateur.
Did it, and it went awesome. It was a really good one, so I'm really hoping to hear something positive sometime soon.
Yeah, wow, what else? That's it? Really? You had an audition that you already talked about yesterday? Fucking last time?
Hey, motherfucker, you were starting the show. Here's the new rule. The person who does the lyrics has to open with the first topic as well. Don't throw it at me. Fucking open with some shitty lyrics from 20 years ago and then throw it at me. No, nothing original. Everyone's heard those lyrics. You're fired. You're off the podcast. It's the Harley Podcast now.
Well, there's not going to be much on it. It's just going to be dead silence.
All right, look. Last episode, Naomi from England, she told me I need to watch more movies.
Yep.
I need to watch more stuff. All right? So, thanks to Naomi's advice, I have started watching more stuff.
Okay.
I went out, for example, and watched the first episode of Fuller House.
Really?
Yeah. And
what's your review of that?
Well, it actually wasn't too bad. The first episode was actually kind of cool. It was kind of nice to see. It actually wasn't too bad.
Pretty good to see Uncle Jesse back and fucking Bob Saget as whoever the hell he plays.
Well, look, let me tell you. There in that first episode of Fuller House, there is some most excellent side underboob from Stephanie. Side underboob from young Stephanie. My, how we've grown up, Stephanie. Of course, I was with the missus watching, so I had to enjoy it in silence. But, my. So I do recommend that you go out and watch that first episode of Fuller House.
If you want some primo side underboob.
If at least for that side underboob.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was actually kind of interesting. But look, I've got bad news if you're planning on getting into that Fuller House. I'm pretty sure that all the original cast is only in the first episode.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's kind of about some of the original cast, and it's like all the guys are gone, all the uncles are gone.
Yep.
Or they're all living in a different city, and I'm sure they'll have cameos, but...
Yeah, they drop in and out, but they don't really feature.
And the Olsen twins said no.
Yeah, they said no to that.
Said no.
Too cool.
Fucking dicks.
Well, they said that they didn't consider themselves actresses, really.
Right.
Which then does not explain their acting forays in their Olsen twins movies that they did about 20 of.
Yeah.
If they don't consider themselves actors, why the fuck do they do those and expect people to pay for those?
And so what do they think they are if not actors? They're trying to identify as
fashionistas.
People. Yeah.
Like baristas, but with fashion.
Well, that's still fucking dumb, because like coming on and doing a cameo on the show that launched you is not really a big deal. It's not going to ruin your fashion career. If Neil deGrasse Tyson can do a cameo on Batman vs Superman, then the fucking Olsen twins can do a cameo on Fuller House.
No one's going to take him seriously anymore. We should talk a little bit about Batman vs Superman. I still stand by the fact that I said it was not too bad, but there's some
vitriol online.
Yeah, people are pretty hyped up. But
well, you thought that the new Star Wars was good, mate, so I just don't even trust any of your judgments anymore.
But me and the whole world thought the new Star Wars was good.
That's not true. A lot of people agreed with me.
No, basically...
there was the initial hype, and then when people actually got around to watching it, they were like, this doesn't really make any sense.
No, it's the highest grossing, one of the highest grossing films of all time.
Batman and Superman?
No, Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it smashed all the records.
Well, that's all right. We've established that popularity doesn't mean quality.
No, but, well, that's true, but we also established popularity equals majority. And that's my point, is that a lot of people did find a lot to like. In fact, so much so that they all went to go see it multiple times, because that's the only way that a film can sort of gross more than a couple $100 million at the box office. Repeat business. But anyway, Bats vs Superman, and there's a funny meme going around online of, they call it Sad Ben Affleck or Sad Batfleck.
I saw that.
Which is really funny because... Although, essentially what they've done, it's all editing. So basically, they ask about the critical backlash, and then Henry Cavill starts talking some shit about, it's for the fans to decide, blah, blah, blah. And then it just zooms in, which obviously is done by the editor.
A slow digital zoom.
With fucking...
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, playing as Ben Affleck sort of stares off disappointedly into the distance, and it is very funny. And especially at the end where he snapped out of it and he's like, yeah, what he said.
He goes, yeah, I agree.
I agree with what he said. It is funny. I encourage you to check that out. But it's also funny because at the heart of it, this is actually a problem that he probably does feel very sad about, because he is one of the actors who's taken the most shit in his career for doing shitty films, and he already kind of lived through this once. Well, he didn't live through it once, he's lived through it about 3 times, but he lived through it on Pearl Harbor, that was meant to be this critically acclaimed World War film, and then Michael Bay bastardized the whole thing and kind of ruined it.
Yeah, that movie was so shit.
And he had egg on his face over that. Then he was originally Daredevil, and they made this kind of quite average Daredevil film, which was not very good, and so he had to take the brunt of that. And then, of course, there was Geely that almost ended his career with Jennifer Lopez. And he's built, like, over the last sort of 10 years, he's built up this reputation as like, no, I'm not that Ben Affleck anymore. I'm not the shitty movies Ben Affleck. I'm the dude now. I make Argo. I make Oscar-nominated Argo. I make The Town. I'm this great director who acts in my own stuff, and I do like quite prestige pictures now, you know. So, you know, but of course when they offered him Batman, he couldn't say no because, you know, he loves Batman. He always wanted to be Batman, and he kind of trusted that they wouldn't fuck it up. And his trust was a little bit misplaced, and now he just has to live through it all again. You know, it's one thing for these other people.
I don't buy that he trusted them not to fuck it up. He read the fucking script, and he saw the title, Batman vs Superman. He did not think that was going to be a good film. He got paid a lot of money.
No,
he's happy that he got to be Batman.
No way.
But like, I don't buy that.
There's no way that he did it for money. You know, Ben Affleck's doing fine.
Yeah, but that's a step up in terms of like leading man stuff. That's a guaranteed massive big blockbuster. Well, film.
No, it's a guarantee.
He's Batman. He's an iconic character. He's gone down in history now as one of the people that played Batman. But of which there are 5 or something.
But on the same token, George Clooney doesn't want to go down in history as the guy that played Batman after playing Batman. You know, so I think that for him, it would have been like he would have waited up. He would have like Zack Snyder appears to be a pretty decent director, and also there's this whole idea is like, oh, you see a film, you think it's going to turn. You never pick a film that you think is going to be bad. You always pick something that you think is going to be good because of the talent involved. Yes, he read the script, but, you know, as we all know, the script is just the blueprint for the film. It doesn't mean that, like, oh, it's going to be, you know, like you could read an amazing script and turn it into a very shitty film. So I think that I just feel sorry for him because he has to now, like, you know, it's like Groundhog Day. You wake up, you're like, oh, didn't I just get rid of all this stuff, like the stink of bad films off me a decade ago? Now I've got to relive it, and I'm trapped in Justice League, which is directed also by Zack Snyder, which is the next one they're going to be doing. And I'm locked into that. There's nothing I can do. I don't have script approval. You know, I just have to be in this cheesy Justice League movie, possibly. So anyway, that's Batman vs Superman, but it has made over $500 million so far in the world in a week.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel too sorry for him.
So you know, people are going to see it.
Well, speaking of going to see things, I did also go and see a film.
Can't really count that. You got given free tickets to go see a film.
I still went and saw a film. I can watch free films right now if I want.
That's true, but
and I choose not to.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So I still made the effort to go to a film.
Yeah, sure.
Now I went to see Hunt for the Wilder People, Taika Waititi's new blockbuster,
Hunt for the Dildo People,
and it was very good actually. It was. I did really like it. Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I thought it was pretty good. I managed to wangle some free tickets to the premiere. And it was really good. It was a great atmosphere. Everything was free. I didn't realize it was such a big deal. I kind of went along just being like, oh yeah, sweet, I'm like going to the opening night of a movie. I didn't realize that all the stars were going to be there, but not just all the stars, all the other cool people in the industry were there that were not even in the film. You know, it was like a who's who of the New Zealand who's cool scene. And it was quite a really fun night and quite a big deal, and then quite a good movie too. So I do recommend that you go out and see Hunt for the Wilder People. It might be his best film.
Well, that's big words, mate. That's big words.
Well, I mean, what? Like, Boy was
better
good.
than Boy?
Well, I feel like I enjoyed it more, but it might be that I watched Boy just on a TV somewhere. I can't even remember. Whereas Hunt for the Wilder People, I was in the cinema and I was
with an appreciative audience.
Wasn't really. I don't really care what the audience was doing though. But I was enjoying it more. But I think it also helps that there was free beer and free food, and I was feeling like a rock star because I was at this like cool event. So that no doubt affected me, but
no doubt.
It did seem very good to me. I'd have to rewatch Boy though.
Yeah. What else? What else you got there? Hunt for the Wilder People?
Well, Carl Urban was wondering where you were. Carl Urban. You make Carl Urban.
Yeah, saw him down there, did you?
I did. And then
You should have come up to him, right, with a paper bag on your head, just covering everything except your mouth, and going, "Who am I? Who am I?" Dread.
Right. Yeah. You should have done that because you should have been there. You should have been there, showing your face. There was
I went to see a different film. I went to see Steve Jobs, which was very good. Very, very good. directed by Danny Boyle, written by Aaron Sorkin, who did all the West Wing and stuff like that, and The Social Network, and is kind of this renowned writer slash playwright slash guy that writes very clever, talky shit. And this was just that. But it was really cool to see, like, I guess, a portrait of Steve Jobs, and clearly he was a bit of an asshole. But you also appreciated his sort of passion and drive, and yes, it was very good.
Well, good to hear. When I was at that premiere thing, I did my usual Facebook antics. Feel free to add me on Facebook by searching Harley Neville, and I did lots of updates from the green carpet, because they didn't have a red carpet, they had a green carpet for some reason. So I did lots of...
Oh, because of the bush.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. I guess that makes sense. So I posted lots of updates, and I was using this hashtag Wilder Selfie, and that was part of a competition. And the best Wilder selfie of the evening was going to win a Swandri, which for those of you who are not from New Zealand is like a classic bushman, all-weather kind of really warm, hardy jacket.
Farmer's jacket, basically.
Yeah, farmers wear them all the time. So the winner wins a Swandri. And anyway, turns out I found out that I won. My selfie won. And I just got that yesterday.
Well, you got that, but they gave you a large.
It is a large.
And you're not large.
So if anyone wants to buy a Swandri, get in touch with me on Facebook. Search Harley Neville. I'll give you a good deal.
But to me, I feel that there's quite a big oversight that you can't pick a size. Like, what if some tiny girl had won it?
Yeah, but man, I win shit with surprising regularity.
Yep.
And let me tell you something. They're always too big. Anything you win is too big, guaranteed.
Right.
You know, like I knew even before I went into the shop, before I went into the place to pick it up, I knew it was going to be too big. I knew it. I knew it straight away. And it's because they're in their twisted logic, people when running a competition say, well, if we get a large, anybody can wear it, but if we get it too small, only small people can wear it. You know, which is dumb because you're not going to wear something when it's too large. You know, when you've got a t-shirt that's too big, you end up, wearing it to sleep in or something. Yeah. Or you throw it away.
You end up wearing it as a nightie to sleep in.
Yeah, exactly. I now have a large Swandri. It would be fine. I would wear it if I was on a farm.
Yeah.
And because it's not too big, it's not massively oversized, but it is too big for me, and I'd never wear it around the city. If I was going to wear it around the city, it needs to fit me a bit better. So look, if anyone's looking for a large Swandri, get at me.
Right. Well,
and then one last thing is they asked me to take a selfie wearing the Swandri and send it to them, and it's going to be put out on the Hump for the Wilder People social media platforms. So, boom.
I feel like what you should have done for that selfie is
it's not too late. I could take another one, send it to them.
Well, you probably wouldn't really be able to fit it in for it to work, but you should have done like the Austin Powers joke where you're on the head and shoulders of like Angie in the Swandri, and so it's just her legs and your top half.
It's not that big that it would cover all of me. That's ridiculous.
Well, and remember you're sitting though.
Yeah,
it could work.
I think you're remembering it slightly bigger than.
Well,
it was.
he's got a big trench coat in the thing.
Yeah, it's not quite that big.
Well, look, we should open up one of our segments this week, which is Who's Dead This Week?
Bill, what happened? Ted? We're dead, dude. No way. This way.
Now, who is dead this week is a guy which maybe not so many people have heard of. His name is Paul Swaddle. And basically he was a filmmaker, a producer in New Zealand, very well respected, had made some very interesting sort of films. He produced or executive produced the first low budget feature film sort of over here, The Devil Dared Me To, by the Back of the Y guys. And then he sort of became part of the film commission. And he became part of the film commission and was very excited about promoting young talent. He was super into kind of breaking down the old guard system and the glass ceiling that was kind of instigated in the film commission and their initiatives at that stage. And so he helped and kind of mastermind the escalator scheme. So you probably never met him, But I obviously had quite a lot to do with him in that initial stages when we were giving funding for I Survived a Zombie Holocaust through the Escalator Initiative. And that was in large part due to Paul and his influence in the Film Commission and his idea that there had to be sort of a new way to sort of help give a leg up to sort of new filmmakers. He died very young. He was 47, early onset dementia. So very kind of sad ending to his life. But, you know, without him, there would certainly be no I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. There may not be any I may not have made a feature film at this point, if not through his influence. And, you know, he did a lot for young filmmakers. And also he was someone that was really passionate about the right stuff. He was passionate about interesting, unique stories. And he was passionate about helping and elevating talent. And he sort of didn't care where you came from or you know, what your background was. He was interested in the work. And so, it is with a, you know, heavy heart, very sad to say that, he passed away early last week. So, Paul Swaddle, thank you very much for all the opportunities you gave us, and rest in peace, my friend.
And I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
Not about that.
All right.
Follow-up question from a previous question on the podcast.
That's fine. Moving on.
Moving on. With Jeremy Howson a little while back, he asked us if an eccentric billionaire offered us $1 million each to have sex with each other while he watched, would we do it? And embarrassingly, I answered yes, and you answered no. Yeah. I was feeling a little bit hurt, a little bit rejected. Now, I've actually got during that podcast, I listened back to it. During that, as I cried, I was I was so upset. And as I was listening to it, you randomly, during that same kind of conversation, brought up about how the people and how there was an airplane that crashed in the Andes. And they had to eat each other. Yeah. I wasn't really sure how that connected, but you know,
they had
cool.
to do desperate things in times of need.
Got it. All right. Well, I've got a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Would you rather bum me or eat me?
Oh, well, that's easy.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd just bum you for sure.
Oh, thank goodness. Good. All right, cool.
Well, look, it just makes sense. Like,
one of them means I have to be dead, presumably.
Exactly.
Unless you just got to eat a chunk of my ass cheek and we just chop it off and eat it.
There's another topic. You know, that's a whole other thing.
Well, I'd probably almost rather you eat a chunk of my ass cheek than fuck me.
But I'm basing this on the idea that you're dead.
Yeah.
Dead is dead. There's no coming back from dying. There's certainly coming back from bumming someone. Yeah. People do it all the time.
With some therapy, we can get through this.
You know, and so you can't... That's very easy, and I wouldn't even take the $1 million.
Just keep me alive. You bum me just to save me.
Just to save you, I would fuck you in the ass.
Thanks.
To save your life if I had to. Just know that.
Good.
Just know that. If ever you go into a cardiac arrest, just know what I will do to save your life.
Quickly, he's dying.
Quickly.
Give him ass to mouth.
I think he wanted CPR. I didn't say fuck him in the ass. This is the deal.
I think he wanted mouth to mouth.
This is what we agreed upon. This was the deal. So that's an easy answer to that one.
Oh, good.
Now, we should talk a little bit about some Kickstarter campaigns. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned the Tex Montana's campaign for basically what they're going to do. They're trying to raise $50,000 US. If they did, they'd release their film for free everywhere under a Creative Commons license. You could do whatever you want with it. It's on YouTube, Vimeo, blah, blah, blah. And they'd gotten sort of, you know, quite far into their campaign and they're doing pretty well. Well, the good news is they did that. They raised that 50 grand. The bad news is I've seen the film and it's not that great.
Really?
Yeah, and I think this is, and it's not that it doesn't have moments of greatness in it, but essentially what you're watching is one guy wandering around the wilderness, kind of semi-improving stuff. but just to himself. So he's got nothing really to work off, except obviously the environment. And, that is quite difficult to make interesting for an hour and a half. And I think, what my sort of criticism of this is it would make an excellent short film. All of this stuff as a condensed sort of 10 to 15 minute short, you'd be like, this is brilliant, this is really funny, but stretch that over that feature film time and suddenly it just doesn't quite, everything wears thin. You go, okay, we understand this premise, what are you bringing new to it? Or are you just rehashing and sort of doing variations on that joke? And unfortunately that's where they are. So it's a bit of a shame. And sort of, looking at the comments of stuff, most of them are all super positive, and then some of them have said exactly what I said. And so, you can check that out. It's online for free, Tex Montana. And I guess what was interesting too about it is clearly, because I thought $50,000 wasn't very much until I watched the film and realized that they probably shot it for about $10,000 all in. Just because of the sort of the setup, really what they had to do was do this sort of mix and sound design, and that would have been the most expensive thing, and even the shooting of it probably didn't take, maybe a couple of weeks. It wouldn't have actually taken that long, even though it may have been broken up by the seasons. But it was an interesting experiment. I'm really glad that it was successful. I recommend you check out their other film, The Battery, which is a really interesting, really good, low-budget, independent zombie film, and it is better than Tex Montana if you want to check out their work. But just thought it was interesting to revisit that one, the old Kickstarter.
Well, good that they put it out though. And did you contribute to it? Is that how you?
No.
Oh, so everyone else raised the 50,000, but anybody can watch it.
But anyone can watch it. It's online now. It's available on YouTube, Vimeo, all that sort of stuff.
Well, that is good that they had a this new kind of distribution technique, and it worked.
And it's good to see people trying that sort of thing, and it does bode well for the future. I think. I think it's just a shame though, because it's a Kickstarter. I feel like one day the Kickstarter dream's just going to be over. I don't know how exactly.
Well, I think part of it will be that,
but
people are really
abusive trust here is the issue. Everyone's making this say, we're going to do this awesome thing. Hey, and then the awesome thing either doesn't actually get finished.
Our backers for older must be thinking the same thing, because our movie's taken more than 2 years and it's still a year away.
Well, I don't think it's a year away. That's a bit, maybe to be for final release it is a year away. But
episode 60, April 2nd, 2016.
Yep.
That was when I predicted a year away.
Yeah, and that's when I predicted it wouldn't be a year away.
Yeah. So we'll hark back to this.
Yep.
Audio bite.
Yep.
In episode 120.
There's a few things to do on it, but there's a lot less to be done. Also, for our backers, they are actually going to be getting to see a sort of a rough cut version of it. So they'll definitely get to see it before a year's out. So, keep an eye out for that, backers. But I think, that's the thing is like all these successful campaigns that then result in something not ideal means that all those people that, gave the money are kind of like, well, maybe I won't give money next time. And then that's 1 or 10 or 100 smaller pool of people that might do that for the next thing.
Yeah, well, we're all sick of it too, because it used to be that when you see these sort of crowdfunding sort of things, that they were kind of novel still. Whereas nowadays, they're a dime a dozen. People fucking Zach Braff is doing one to shoot his fucking movie.
Fucking big budget, $4 million fucking film. Because he could get money from elsewhere, but he wants to have total control.
Yeah. So thanks to the likes of Zach Braff.
Also, let me just add that I watched that film.
Yeah.
We're Not Here, or I'm Not Here, or We're Still Here, or whatever the fuck it was called. And it wasn't very good. It was maudlin. It was...
nice.
Yeah.
Nice usage of the English language, bro.
Yeah, it was just too much. And, it was too Zach Braffy, to be perfectly honest.
Well, he's dropped off the radar, really, hasn't he?
Well, I don't know. He did just release
working on something.
Film, and yeah, he's probably doing okay. He's sitting pretty on his Scrubs money, on his syndicated Scrubs money. There's no doubt about that. But it wasn't that great a film, and there was, I'm sure, many better projects to invest in. But speaking of these crazy Kickstarters, I stumbled down a Kickstarter wormhole the other day.
Yeah.
And came across another gem of this is called Zombie with a Shotgun.
It's like Hobo with a shotgun.
Well, it's about and it's based off this web series. And it was one of these. It was like a car wreck. You wanted to stop. You wanted to stop looking, but you couldn't look away, and that was how I watched all the episodes of the web series. We might even play a little clip of it now.
Buddy, what's going on?
Man, I'm glad you got here. Listen, we got those devils trapped in the back now.
You sure? I got called for a zombie sighting. Is that true?
Yeah, they're zombies. You can tell it when you look in their eyes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
He's in the back room right there?
We got them back there.
Okay.
I think he's in the back room, but we definitely have him back there.
Okay, good. Do me a favor. Step back. That room right there, let the police handle it.
Are you sure you can handle it?
We'll try.
I mean, there's only one of you. Okay, God be with you, lad. You're gonna need the help.
And yeah, that's a Zombie with a Shotgun, and it's basically about a guy who is infected, but he hasn't turned properly, so he's just sick, right?
Yeah.
And the web series consists entirely of him with his hot girlfriend, and he's a hot, he's this jacked up dude, called, and this is the actor. We had Brandon Motion the other day, the personal trainer. This guy's called Braden Bade. Anyway, they basically just wander around, and I encourage you to look at this. It's kind of like it's kind of a Plan 9 from outer space situation. But it's, basically these two people walking around this basement, no context. He's been infected, no context exactly. Why are they in this creepy, broken down building basement place? Why do they keep creeping around it for 5 or 6 episodes? Why don't they get out of it? Why don't they go somewhere else? And it's literally him just walking around with a shotgun. They encounter one other zombie in that entire thing. And it's not good. Well, guess what? He started a Kickstarter to release the feature film of that. And guess what? He's raised he's trying to raise $50,000. He's raised $5,600, which is more than we raised for Older.
No, that's exactly what we raised.
I think we raised $5,200.
No, but then there was $400 or something from the PayPal.
Oh,
PayPal
right.
donations.
Okay. So, but he's only 5 days into a 55-day campaign. So he's going to outraise Older with this zombie with a fucking shotgun.
How many views did Zombie with a Shotgun have online?
Yeah, so the first episode had 50-something thousand. And that was on a Vimeo, right? And then there was a dramatic drop-off. The rest of the episodes had about 6,000.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not one to shit on other people's work, but this is why people don't want to see our zombie film.
Yeah.
It's because someone comes along and goes, zombie with a shotgun, and makes this terrible thing, and then I go, I survived a zombie holocaust. I mean, I even say the same stuff, sort of. Are you guys tired of the same old zombie projects where the humans need to survive the zombie apocalypse, or when humans fight each other and the story isn't even about zombies at all? Zombie with a Shotgun is going to be that film where all the rules we know about zombie films go right out the window. And yeah, but I feel like, it's these kind of things that are kind of making people not pick up my film.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's not helping that the zombie bubble has exploded a long time ago. The zombie genre is dead and has not risen.
Yeah. It has not risen from the dead. Apart from, obviously, The Walking Dead, which is still going strong.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Kickstarters and so on, I actually donated to a Kickstarter the other day.
Yep.
There is a creationist called Ken Ham who is... He thinks the Earth's 6,000 years old, and he says that Noah's Ark is a factual story, and he thinks that the penguins walked from the Middle East to Antarctica without picking up the bones of their dead as they went, or leaving any sort of signs or shit or anything like that, or maybe God just teleported them there after the floods receded or whatever. And so he's building a full-size replica of Noah's Ark in America, and it's called the Creation Museum, and it's essentially a big sort of ignorance factory where people go along. It's aimed at kids. The idea is like, get the kids along and bring the whole family. And they think you can ride dinosaurs. They think dinosaurs happened in the last 6,000 years, and they think that 2 of every single animal fit on this boat. And then so what's happening? This boat is huge. It's gigantic. It's to the measurements that the Bible gave to Noah's boat. And now, a lot of people have said, well, it's very unlikely that he'd be able to build a boat like that.
Yeah.
However many thousands of years ago that the flood was supposed to have happened. Seems very unlikely. And so, but Ken Ham was like, no, it's real. This is real. And so he has started building this boat, and he's using massive cranes, ridiculous technology, modern science to build this thing, and basically propagate ignorance. And it's just kind of madness that he even thinks he's struggling to build it with modern day materials and have it float, because it's not even designed to float. It's designed to look like a boat, I guess. But anyway, it's not. I very much doubt it would actually float if he tried to float it. But anyway, point is that it's ridiculous that the whole story even happened. But anyway, some other people have got a Kickstarter campaign. They want to put up signs on the way to the Creationist Museum called Genocide and Incest Park. And it's about how the genocide and incest associated with the Noah's Ark story. And so they needed money to put up these big billboards all along the highway in America, in Pennsylvania, I think it is. And I contributed to that. I slipped them a cheeky $10. Now, I did consider slipping them a $500. Now, obviously, I wasn't actually going to do that, but I was, because if I did that, I'd get to have my face on the billboard as being one of the people drowning around the Ark. Because it's a big picture of the Ark. In Genocide and Incest Park, and it's got people drowning around it, and I could have been one of them, but I wasn't willing to part with $500 for it.
No. Well, also, I don't know how well those billboards are going to go down,
Well, presumably they're going to get vandalized.
Well, with more the authorities, right?
Oh, well, I think it's all legal. It's not.
Is it legal to call something Incest Park? I don't know if it is.
Well, I think it must be. I'm sure they've done the research on that.
But have they done the research?
Of course they have. They'll be allowed to put that type of thing on a billboard. It's just...
Well, I'm going on record as saying those billboards are never going up. So, as we will return to whether or not the film comes out in a year, let's return and you can keep me abreast of whether those billboards ever make it.
Okay, well, I've got a feeling that the first one's already up, so... Pennsylvania atheist group slavery billboard is now up. Oh no, but that's an old one. That's from 2012. But yes, I'm confident that it will go up.
So we'll come back to that. We will come back to that. Now, I just, I've got a new dream. I've given up filmmaking. I've got a new dream, Uber driver. So I'm going to be doing that. And, I've sort of mentioned briefly that it's quite a big to-do to get all the things. You've got to do all sorts of exams and 3-day courses and sort of nonsense to find out that you got to put Braille on the inside of the left front passenger door of any taxi that you drive. I didn't really need to know that, but I do know that now because I've done this stupid course.
What, would that mean that if you become an Uber driver, you have to put that in?
No, because Uber drivers have basically bypassed all the rules of taxi, and that's what makes them... Because essentially, why are taxis getting kind of slammed by Uber was because Uber is not held to all the same standards. A private hire vehicle does not have to have all those things. You have to have a badge to say your name and that you've past the passenger license thing, but you don't have to have signs, you don't have to have Braille, you don't have to have a thing that lights up, and all of the stuff taxi drivers need. It's a law, it's a requirement. So of course all that stuff costs money, and there's also some type of additional tax that they pay. So all of those things sort of combine to mean that one, they have to charge higher fares, and B, their drivers get paid less.
1 and B.
Yeah, well, 1B. And so Uber seems to be a much better option for everyone involved because it's considered a private hire vehicle, which is by arrangement, which means that they do not you can't, but it means that you, as an Uber driver, you can't cruise for to pick up people. Like, if you saw people on the street, you couldn't park up and go, hey, I'm an Uber driver, request me.
Yeah.
Right? They have to request you first, and then you drive to them.
Got it.
But anyway, so I had... Part of the test was that I had to do my driver's license again. So I had to resit my full driver's license, which I failed.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
So I failed that the first time. Now, basically, it's not, you don't like get your driver's license revoked. It's basically, I guess, a refresher course. It's basically kind of like a defensive driving course to prove that you should get this license and you can drive people around.
And you proved that
and
you should not.
I proved that I definitely could not. So I failed that the first time. Now you get 2 critical failures, and then if you make one more, that's over. So basically my critical failure was failure to indicate at a roundabout.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to be fair, this was like a roundabout, but it was a T intersection roundabout. So there was no, and it was 2 lanes. So one lane just went straight through. The other lane was the actual roundabout. I was on the lane that just went straight through, and there was no...
So the second lane on the outside, it didn't arch around and go straight. Like, it didn't go around. It wasn't 2 lanes going around the roundabout. It was 1 lane going around the roundabout and 1 lane kind of going straight through.
Yeah, but obviously it's still...
Or did the lane continue around?
No, it didn't. That lane didn't continue around.
Right.
So that lane that I went through, I was like, well, I don't need to indicate. I'm not really part of this roundabout. Critical fail.
That kind of sucks.
And it especially sucks because it was a T intersection as opposed to a 4-way intersection. If it was a 4-way intersection, you would be maybe indicating that you were, turning off to your left, your first left. But because there was no one, it was literally straight through. So it was a bit of a trick.
If it's only 1 lane as well, because the idea of indicating when you come off a roundabout is to show a person waiting to come onto the roundabout that you're about to leave the roundabout.
Yeah.
But if you're in a lane that's not even going towards that person, well, that's just fucking stupid.
So
it's just pedantic.
Exactly. So it's hard done by there. The other one was that I turned turned left, and there was 2 lanes. So I was coming into traffic.
You went into the outer lane.
I went into the outer lane, and I went into the outer lane because he was like, okay, I need you to, turn left here, and then at this first intersection, which was, like 10 meters away, turn right.
Yeah.
So basically, he was,
setting you up.
He was setting me up for a fall because just from a sort of like a safety standpoint, it was much more dangerous for me to pull into the first lane and then change lanes into the right-hand side lane to turn because it was such a short distance, so I would be, when I was in that first lane, kind of creating a problem for any traffic that was coming through. So again, critical fail on that. And then there was just a couple of little things that tipped me over the edge.
Yeah.
But
ran over an old lady.
Hit some pedestrians.
80 going past this primary school.
Hit and run, whatever. So I failed that the first time.
The dead girl in your boot fell out. There was a few things.
Dead? She wasn't dead when I put her in there.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I said,
2
look.
weeks ago.
I said, look to the tester. I was like, look, she wasn't dead when I put her in there, okay? Give me a break.
I feel like you're being a little unfair.
I feel like you're being a little pedantic. So I failed that. I was very angry. And I was kind of like, look, man, this is some fucking...
Did you give him some shit?
I was like, this is kind of bullshit, man. Like, I've been driving for 15 years.
That is such an old fogey thing to say. It's bullshit. I've been driving for 15 years. Look at the 60-year-old guys who drive like shit, and they go, I've been driving for 40 years. It goes, it doesn't mean you're not shit.
But let me rephrase that. I've been driving for 15 years without really any accidents. That is my seal of approval.
Yeah.
So it's
a trail of death and flames behind you, but you personally weren't involved in any.
But I was just like, don't you think it's just kind of a bit shit? Like, I mean, that I'm even, and he was like, yeah, he kind of agreed, but he was like, but you got some bad habits, got to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And so I retested that, and this time I actually...
The results came back positive.
Exactly. The first time I did it, I didn't really do any prep. I did zero prep. I looked at the roundabout rules and still got them wrong. But I didn't really do any prep. So the second time I watched a whole bunch of fucking videos about going round roundabouts and all the other things that they basically that they're looking to set you up for. And then I had this test. I was doing it at 4 o'clock in an area called Howick, which is kind of way out west and, not a nice area and peak traffic time. So it was actually kind of difficult to drive there anyway. Like, it was actually like, even if I was just driving and not having to regulate my speed, because we went past roadworks, we went past a school, and we went past a school bus parked. So there's all these different bits where I had to like fully, completely, check my speed, all that shit. And, but I did pass, and it was a lot better.
Did you get any critical failures?
I did get one critical failure and another kind of pedantic bullshit one. And I actually did know about this rule because I'd just seen it on one of these things. But essentially, when you come up to an intersection and there's a pedestrian crossing at the intersection, you're meant to stop before the pedestrian crossing.
Makes sense.
Unless, but there was no people on or anything.
Yeah.
Unless it's dangerous for you to do so because you can't see the traffic to your right, which I couldn't see the traffic to my right. But it was on a sort of lights. There was lights there, so it didn't really matter that I couldn't see because, in theory, I should just be trusting the lights. To be honest, I didn't even clock that there was a pedestrian crossing there. I was too focused on not shitting my pants. And
was it the same dude?
No, it was a completely different dude who was actually much better as well in terms of giving direction and instruction.
Did they ever ask you to pull over and then just ask you to pull out again? And did you do the look over your shoulder, make sure you check your blind spot?
Yeah. They didn't get me to pull over, just made me do a UE at one point. That was the only thing, but it's a bit different for the full license. They're really, because, the harder bits are, obviously they're just looking for those little things to fuck you up. And also you've got to talk through, you're like, oh, I'm looking to my left and my right and I see the car on my left and right and I'm keeping an eye on the car behind me in my rear view. And then I'm giving way to my right for the oncoming traffic and now I'm turning. What a load of shit.
Well, I
just watch the fucking guy drive. Get off his fucking ass and just watch him drive. Why does he have to tell you that? Do you go around driving in your normal day-to-day and do a monologue through the whole fucking thing?
But they wanted to know that you could identify the risks.
They should be able to fucking identify me identifying the risk without me fucking having to monologue it out for them.
Well, I remember being probably the most angry I've ever been in my life, or certainly one of the times I've been most angry in my life was to do with these guys as well. Similar situation where I had to go and get my full license. I was going to sit my full license and I was quite nervous about it.
Yep.
And it was a pissing down day in Wellington, like middle of a storm in winter, and absolutely pissing down. And I was so young and naive that I actually dressed up nice because I thought it mattered. I put on a shirt, and because I was like, oh, I was pretty nervous. I want this guy to like me, and think I'm taking this seriously. I don't want to fail my license because that'd be fucking embarrassing.
Yeah.
And then so I showed up, and they said to park in the car park and get out of your car because so that the guy can see you and just wait by your car at the appropriate time. So I pulled into the car park. It was pissing down. I got out of my car and I even took my jacket off because it was not a very tidy jacket. And I was like, I'll just wear this shirt. Good first impressions last, And then and then so I stood there in the rain for ages and the guy never came out. And I stood there for a while. I stood there for ages, and I was like, "I must be coming." And then I went and I sort of poked my head in the office, and there was nobody around. And I was like, oh, "Okay, this is weird." And I sort of stood around for a bit more, and then eventually he came out and I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he was like, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm not here for you, I'm here for her." And some old lady had just arrived for her test, which was after my test. And I was like, "Whoa, it's my turn." And he was like, "Nope, you're late." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not late. I was early, actually. I've been here for half an hour standing in the fucking rain." And he was like, "Nope, you're late." And I was like, no, really, I've been here the whole time. I've been standing right there. I've been standing there. And he was like, nope. And then I can't remember, this was a wee while ago, I can't remember exactly, but I flew into a rage.
You abused him.
I flew into a rage and I called him a fucking cunt.
Yeah.
And then, actually, he just ignored me and got in the car with this old lady first. Yeah. That's the first thing he did. He ignored me and got in the car. Yeah. And I was like, just standing there in the rain. And then I was like, and he started like just doing the test with this old lady. And he was like, excuse me, I'm with a customer. And I was like, yeah, me. And then and then that's when he got in the car. And then, so I was like, you fucking cunt! And then it was some old lady's car, and I punched the window that he was sitting in there. I punched the passenger window and stormed away. And then got in the car and raged all the way home, screaming to myself, and then immediately jumped on the computer
and wrote a strongly worded letter.
Wrote a very strongly worded letter to the council or whoever it is that's in charge, and sent
I'm pretty sure I helped you with that letter.
I'm sure you probably did.
I'm pretty sure
I advised that I take out all the cunts. And
remember that.
And so I sent away the letter, and in the end, I got everything I asked for, which was I said I think I should get a retest for free. With a different person. Yeah. And I got all that.
Yeah. But you didn't get an apology from that guy.
No apology. But I took it as the very fact that they gave me... Because I took photos of everything. I took photos before I left, even though I was in a rage. Yeah. Or maybe I went back. I can't remember. I took photos of the car park and just showed where I was and where he was supposed to be. Because I think what happened was he poked his head out. It was pissing down.
Didn't see you.
And he didn't bother coming outside for a proper look around the car park because it was pissing down. And he was like, nah, not there. Fuck him. Yep. I'll go inside and fucking have a cup of coffee and a wank.
Yep.
And that's exactly what he did. Cunt.
Well,
the only thing that makes me feel better is he was quite old, and this was sort of 10 years ago, so he's probably dead.
Be dead.
He's probably dead.
So that is the glimmer of joy that you can take from the whole thing is that he might be dead now.
Yeah. I do have good news and bad news with regards to my Pastafarian mission. So, as regular listeners will know...
I was going to say, as the good news, you're going to stop talking about
it? as regular listeners will know, I've been applying to be a Pastafarian wedding celebrant, and one of the first in the world. Well, actually, I'd be the second, because unfortunately somebody beat me to it again. Yep. And I wanted to do the world's first Pastafarian wedding, which was going to be on April 16th with this documentary maker who I found... who is getting married. So I had a wedding lined up, but I'm not a wedding celebrant. Meanwhile, in the Church of the Pastafarians, the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, there's only one wedding celebrant in all of New Zealand, but she didn't have a wedding lined up. So I had the wedding, she had the paper. I applied to the Department of Internal Affairs and filled out all the forms to become a celebrant, and they said everything was fine except for it needs to be signed by the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. So I contacted the church, as I told you last week, and they gave me this big long list of shit that I had to do.
Bunch of silly hurdles to jump over for no particular reason.
Yep. And then, so the other day I contacted the guy who's getting married, and I said, because it's getting dangerously close to April 16th, and I said, hey, look, here's what's happening, here's where I'm at, I'm midway through jumping through all these hurdles, but just here's where I'm at, sort of thing. And he was like, oh, look, here's the thing, bad news, I have contacted the other celebrant, or the only celebrant, and we have found a pirate ship, and we are having our wedding on April 16th in Akaroa, a beautiful part of New Zealand, on a pirate ship. There will be heaps of media coverage. Stuff already want to do a story about it.
And you're not part of
it. He said I could come as a guest if I wanted, but yeah, I'm not part of it. So a little bit upset about that, considering how much work I put in. I am going to finish my application and still become a celebrant because I'm so close now anyway. I might as well do it. But it's a bit of a pain in the ass. And it's
personally, I would have given up.
Well, I'm pretty tempted.
I would have just gone. I'm
so close. I've actually already written like my essay and all that stuff.
Look,
I've just got to send it to them.
Look, you had a good run. You put a soup strainer on your head in your driver's license. You had a little article about you in the thing. But sometimes you gotta let something go. You gotta let this pasta dream go.
Nah, man, this Pastafarian thing is the publicity gig that keeps giving, and I've got evidence of that, which is that the film, I was in Stuff, which is a news website in New Zealand. I was in Stuff. I'll post it in the comments on the Guy and Harley Facebook page. Guy and Harley, Facebook.com/Guy and Harley. Hit like. I'll post it there, and it was a little kind of fluff news story about Pastafarians and alternative religions, and it had a video of me, and it was an interview with me, and that has now just been announced as a finalist in the Canon Media Awards, and they're having an awards night in Wellington next month, a glitzy awards night, journalism awards night kind of thing, and that video of me's in the finals. So that's the good news. I'd quite like to go, but it's just kind of hard to justify going all the way down there for a 2-minute story that I'm nominated for an award when I'm not even a journalist.
Yeah, that you were in. Story that you were in.
But I would go to it wearing a suit with my pastor's trainer, so everyone there would know who I was. Everyone there would know which idiot I was.
Yeah. Well, that would be annoying to wear that for the whole night.
Well, I'd probably put a shoestring in it or something to make it like a chin strap.
Yeah. That still doesn't make it less annoying for you or anyone around you.
I might go. We'll see.
Yeah, so I look, we've talked a little bit about it before too, but my job, I do, a couple of jobs, and one of them is alarm monitoring. And, at one point, it was the dream job, I work graveyards. When it gets quiet, it would get completely dead, and you'd just, do film work, writing. I wrote Older there. I edited Older, a large chunk of it there. I've done many, many things there that aren't that work that I'm meant to be doing. And it was really good. And then basically change of management, they're looking probably to just completely abolish that business model and introduce some new stuff. A lot of people have been made redundant, some people have resigned, the shifts have become so it's not so cruisy. Essentially now we're very understaffed, so there's a lot more actual working involved.
Hate that.
Which is, it's really difficult to get your head around it at 32 years old, that you're going to have to work hard at your day job that you have no passion and love for.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get your head around. I really struggle with that idea. That concept for me is a real mission.
I hope nobody from your work's listening.
They're not.
No potential employers.
But so, speaking of potential employers, so I have been sort of just looking into potentially moving on from that job because, it doesn't pay that well. The hours have been cut and it's become really hard and grueling at many points. So, I'm sort of considering other avenues of work. And of course, ideally, what I should be doing is, directing work, writing work, editing work, stuff that I'm actually good at and love and would do passionately. But those jobs are not that easy to come by, apparently, from my experience so far. Haven't heard back from, I applied for maybe sort of 10 of those types of jobs and have heard back from, I think, 2, with rejections, of course. So, I'm looking into that, but I just have this beef with this new thing that's sort of come about, I guess, in the last maybe 5 odd years, which is these initiation days. So basically what happens... Inductions. Is, they call you up and they do a kind of a screening interview. Now, back in the old day, after that, you'd go in for the real interview. You'd meet the bosses, talk a bit of shit. This would last between 15 minutes and an hour at the most if they were really grilling you. But, you're just going in as an interview. It's a job interview, right? Now, they've got these induction days where essentially they ask you to come in and spend half a day, between sort of 2 and 5 hours, sometimes the entire day. Sometimes it's an 8-hour day. I've done an 8-hour induction before. Where they call you in and they go, hey, so, congratulations, you passed you made it to the next round, which is this induction. And then you sit there and basically, you all sit around. It's a complete waste of time for everyone. No one learns anything, but you all sit around and you solve riddles together. It's like, you're capsized in the middle of the ocean on a life raft and you have these things in your thing, but you have to lose some of them. Now, list them in order of importance. Now, this is for a call center job, which doesn't involve life rafts or sailing or surviving a horrific crash. right? So they're completely unrelated. Or, for instance, you're meant to be loading bags at the airport, and they tell you to build an architectural, tower, ergonomically designed to fit in with the airport, and then pitch it
out of Lego.
You've
got the most important part. Out of Lego.
So build a Lego castle that looks good, and then pitch it to your prospective employer to discuss, why it would be a great installation at the Auckland airport, or hypothetical, obviously, because they're not putting a Lego sculpture anywhere near the fucking airport. And this is the type of shit that you do on these induction test days, right? And then at the end of that, they go, "Congratulations, you failed. You didn't build the Lego castle high enough. It had some structural integrity issues.
Yeah.
You listed all the least important things in that life raft. You'd be dead within a day, and you have not gotten any further. But the thing is, you still spent that day doing it. And my issue is, surely this is illegal. Surely this is a training, paid training, or paid for your time. If you do an audition, right? The audition is 15 minutes. If you get called back for another 15-minute audition, you get paid for it.
You do.
You get paid for your fucking time, because they're like, yep, so you made it to this thing, so now we'll actually pay you because we want to see you again.
It's $50 usually.
We understand your time is valuable. Whereas these places expect you to give up half your day on your day off, or maybe lie to get out of work that day so you can go to this thing, for them to ultimately tell you, hey, of 20 people, we're only ever going to select 3, and you're not one of them. It's fucking bullshit.
Well,
it's fucking disgusting. And really, you want to talk about angry? You want to talk about the angriest day you ever had? I get angry whenever I'm offered these induction days because I just want to blow my fucking brains out.
Well, look, mate, I got bad news for you. I don't think it's illegal, and it's been happening for a lot longer than you think. Because you might recall, got rejected from my application for my job at McDonald's after doing a couple of hours of work for them.
But was it an hour or was it a couple of hours? Because I feel like an hour is the borderline of okay.
It would have been more than an hour, because by the time I went in, and because I had to have basically I applied for a job. I was on the benefit at the time, and I was 18, I was 17 actually, and I was on the benefit, and I looked at people at McDonald's, and I saw them dribbling while they talked, and not understanding basic phrases and so on.
And you thought,
and I thought that could be me. I could totally do that job.
I think I could nail this.
And actually, I don't even know if I was on the benefit or not. But anyway, I went along, and I got a job interview there, and I had an interview. And they were like, we need you to come in, do an interview, and then do an hour or so of actual trial work. So I went in, did the interview, and then I came in, did the trial of an hour or two working in McDonald's, and I was a cook. I was putting the burger patties, the frozen burger patties out of the freezer onto the grill, flipping them over, putting the chips down, all that type of stuff. And there was some fucking hulking brute who was the assistant manager of the Dunedin North McDonald's. I can't remember his name, unfortunately, but if I did, I'd drag it through the mud because I hold a grudge.
Fatty McFattison.
He was fat, but he was also quite big, and just kind of like a big hulking, muscly, fat guy kind of thing.
Yeah.
And perfect for McDonald's work, really.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he was the guy doing the interview. The interview I thought went fine, and then I was working away, and everyone was nice to me. I was getting along pretty well. There was quite a pretty girl that was kind of taking me under her wing, and she's like helping me get around the no, do it this way.
Get around the patties,
and then he had these. The big boss dude came along, and he said, "Oh, Harley, grab these," and he was holding these 4 or 5 big metal plates that they put all the burger patties on before you cook them.
Yeah.
And he was just holding them really lightly kind of thing. And he was like, "Oh, here, Harley, have this," and kind of passed them to me, very lightly, very casually, as if they were very light. And then I grabbed them, and they were really heavy. They were really heavy, man. I'm telling you.
They were way too heavy for your scrawny, semi-prepubescent arms.
But he did it on purpose, man. He did it on purpose. He deliberately. He was fucking with me. This guy was fucking with me.
He tried to stitch you up. He didn't like the look of you.
And so he
looked like he saw this little pretty boy flirting with this
with
chick
the hot girl
that he's obviously had his eye on, and he was like, "I'm gonna make an example of him. I'm gonna
this guy's day up.
I'm gonna teach him a lesson."
So he passes me these big heavy things like they're nothing, and of course I try to carry them, and I instantly they fall out of my hands and they go clanging on the ground, clattering around. You know, the whole restaurant hears it. Everybody turns and looks. This is like behind the counter too, potentially unsafe. And you know, the hot girl was like, you know, Bob, or whatever his fucking name was. Oh, Bob, come on. You know, she was on my side.
She knew what was up.
And this guy was having a laugh about it. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Fucking funny. Ah, ha, 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 ha. And then so I picked them all up and I was like, oh, that was kind of embarrassing. But, you know, it's not the end of the world. This didn't seem like a deal breaker to me. You know, I was doing all the other things. You know, it had this like alarm that went off every 15 minutes. You had to like sanitize your hands and stuff like that. And I was doing all of that.
Yeah.
And
your hands remain sanitary for the duration of the hour.
And then, so at the end of it, I was like, well, I've got the job. Like, you know, I did drop those things, but that wasn't that bad. And it was kind of his fault. And everybody acknowledged it was kind of his fault. Yeah. And then he takes me out and he goes, yeah, so here's the thing. You don't have the job. And I was like, what? And I looked over at the retarded dude dribbling into the burgers behind the counter, and I was like, that what? I can't get that fucking job. And then the whole deal was you come in and do this work, and you don't get paid, but you do get a meal of your choice from the menu. And I was like, well, he was like, no, so you don't have the job. And what burger do you want? And I was like, oh, well, I'll have a McChicken combo, please. and he was like, oh, we don't have any McChickens cooked at the moment, so you can have a Big Mac. Which I don't even like fucking Big Macs. and he gave me like a Big Mac combo, and I just sat there in the restaurant eating it in defeat. Every mouthful bitter.
Total shame and humiliation. Didn't even take away. Yeah. Just ate it there.
Looking miserable. A couple of years later, as a form of petty revenge, I got a couple of dog shits, and I was filming a segment for my segment on a TV show which was called Cow's Rear End on Dunedin's local channel, Channel 9, and I put two dog shits. I went to the table outside McDonald's, put two dog shits on top of the table, on either end of the table, and my friend Gary and I had Gary King, we had an arm wrestle where the loser's hand gets mushed in the dog shit.
Classic jackass stunt.
Pre-jackass though. And
I don't think it was.
It was.
It was not pre-jackass.
I'm telling you, man, it was post-CKY2K, it was pre-jackass.
If you check the timeline of when Jackass came out.
No, I remember when Jackass came out, and it was like, oh man, these guys are doing what I was doing, but only better. You know, and doing it way more extreme. They were not popular when this happened.
Oh, we can Wikipedia that to verify it?
You can, but it wasn't... either way, it wasn't popular in New Zealand. They might have been coming up in America at the time, but it was not a big thing in New Zealand, and there was nowhere in New Zealand to watch it, because we had Channel 1, 2, and 3. You know, it was not a thing over here, and the internet was not, like, widely used. So it wasn't really... It might have been out, but it wasn't a big deal. And so that was my petty revenge.
Of course, he probably didn't work there by that stage.
No, I just made some poor kid
clean up some shit on the bench.
Some poor retarded 17-year-old
who was like you
cleaning up this shit on the bench.
Yeah. The funniest things about that story to me are that you accepted the Big Mac. You didn't go, no, hang on a fucking second. Look, maybe I'm not McDonald's material, but you just give me my damn McChicken, all right? I want a McChicken, and it says I can have anything off the menu. Well, I'm ordering McChicken. Thank you very much.
Instead, I was like, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And also, like, where do people go who can't get a job at McDonald's? KFC.
Which is...
So you went to work directly for KFC afterwards.
That was direct. I couldn't get McDonald's, so I went to KFC, and at the time there was 83 KFCs in New Zealand, and ranked from best to worst,
Yeah.
1 to 83, and
Yeah.
the one I started working at was number 82. The 83rd one was KFC in Alexandra.
Right.
Was the worst one in the country.
Yeah.
Ours was the second worst in the country by the internal ranking system that they have. But I was good enough for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. That's good times. So anyway, they have been doing that for a long time. These trials, and man, it could be worse.
There's an hour.
Yeah, it is not as bad. It's not as bad.
This half a day thing is criminal.
But I got good news for you. I put in your CV in 3 different departments at my work: the graphics one, the radio one, and MCR, which is the Master Control Room. I don't actually work there. Don't know anybody that works there.
Good.
Well, I mean, I don't really know them. I've never done that job myself, but I'm confident you can figure it out.
Yeah. Well, it'll be good news
if you get a call,
if I ever hear back from any of them.
Well, if you get a call, don't act like you don't know what the fuck they're talking about. If someone's like, "Hi, yeah, we're from the radio, and we need you to do, are you interested in an interview?" You just act like you know all about it.
I'll be like, "Oh, sure, the radio, heaps of experience."
No, you tell them about all this technical setup we have here for the podcast,
which is me hitting record on Soundtrack Pro.
No, you had to plug in the mics. We've got a mixer here, like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
You just make that sound like it's bigger than it is.
Just make that sound like you're actually doing something.
Yeah, and you tell me you've been doing it for more than a year, and that you used to do a radio show on Radio Ponsonby.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
We should have put that on your CV, actually.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll keep an ear out for those, and I will go to this induction day and do my very best to not leap to my feet at some point in the induction and go, "Guys, am I the only one who realizes this is total fucking bullshit? Your job is just to look at people looking for jobs and invent silly exercises for them that have nothing to do with the job they're applying for."
It's about the actor.
I'll do my best not to do that, but I can make no promises. I can make no promises. Well, we should wrap it up because I got work.
Cool, dude.
So thank you all for listening. Our newly minted video, Not Wanking.
Yeah, we should have mentioned that.
Is out.
It's out. You can find it on YouTube by searching Pigville on YouTube, or if you go to facebook.com/Guy and Harley and hit like, you can see it there as well. I've shared it. I'll share it again soon. And yeah, it's our new skit, Not Wanking. The same one we've been talking about for the last 6 months on the podcast is finally out.
It's finally out. Was it worth the wait? You decide.
It's doing all right. It's got it's more than 2,000 views now, 100 likes or so, 100 and something likes.
Yep.
So it's doing all right. It's doing all right.
So we'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Again, my name is Aaron, and I'm infected with the virus. I can tell my body's giving it 110% to try and fight off whatever it is, but it still seems to be consuming me, physically and mentally. These last 3 weeks have been nothing but hell, and if it wasn't for Rachel by my side, I don't even know what I would do. Now that I know what lies ahead, I'll be waiting, and I'm gonna make it nearly impossible for anyone who wants either of us dead.
You've been listening to the Guy and Harley Podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.